Okay, so this little monologue here, I want to discuss the Alabama abortion bill. I'm going to start off with what it actually says. What it does is it bans abortion after 6 weeks of pregnancy, with the exception of this pregnancy causing some sort of life-threatening condition. All right. It's pretty much what it is. It's true that it does not have any exemptions for the cases of rape and incest. And I'm going to discuss both of these exemptions and what you should do in these cases. Well, with rape, this must be the best kept secret in the world. What is the first thing you do when you get raped? The very first thing you do the second you get a chance. It seems like a lot of people don't know the answer to that question for some reason. You know? So I'm going to say this. It seems like I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again. The first thing you should do after you're raped is go to the hospital. Go to the ER. Don't shower up. Don't change your clothes. Just go to the ER. That's like priority numero uno. Right? And there are 3 reasons I'm going to give for this. Now, the first reason is that you need to be able to be checked out for injuries, STDs, and possibly set up with a counselor and, get treated for all these things, Second reason is so they can gather the evidence, so they can catch the guy who raped you and have a much better chance of prosecuting them. I hear from a lot of these rape culture feminist types, these Me Too types, oh, well, the justice system just isn't fair and it should believe women, I got raped like 10 years ago and, the justice system didn't convict this guy. They didn't prosecute this guy. Well, the justice system didn't fail you in this case. You just didn't go to the justice system. You did some things that made it a lot harder to prosecute these people. That's what happened. I mean, let's put it this way, Joe gets burglarized. Doesn't tell the police. Doesn't file a police report. Nothing like that. 6 months later, Joe notices some of his property that was stolen out of his home at that guy, a block down the road. Oh, police, you've got to stop that guy. You've got to arrest that guy and convict him of burglary. I lost that property in a burglary. Police, you didn't tell us. No, me too. I mean, come on, how ridiculous would that sound? Didn't report the burglary, didn't report anything that's missing, and now all of a sudden you want the police to convict the guy down the road with your property, even though you didn't do a thing to help the police out on this one. You don't have any evidence. They're not going to arrest the guy, and they're not going to convict him. And that's simply because you didn't take the proper steps. And this is the same way with rape. If you don't take the proper steps to help catch the guy or gal who raped you and help prosecute them, you can't really complain that the justice system failed you. No, this is a failure on your part. As for the case of incest, well, I don't know what to tell you if you're having sex with the blood relatives to begin with. I mean, really, I don't. To me, that's kind of disturbing and not very intelligent. And I would figure kind of embarrassing for other people to find out. Though, we live in clown world now, so I guess, people doing the dumbest shit is a new norm. I mean, shoot. I don't know what to tell you in that case other than, you just got through fucking your cousin. It might be a good chance to keep on going back to that doctor, to keep on saying, hey, look, if I'm pregnant, I need something to terminate the pregnancy, and get that done before 6 weeks. Either that or go to another state. And the plain and simple fact is that they're not going to prosecute you in Alabama for going to, say, New York to get an abortion. That would be illegal in Alabama. They can't do that. If you get an abortion in New York, you have not violated New York's laws, and Alabama laws do not apply to New York. This is how our federal system works. And definitely bring back all the pertinent paperwork to show that you got that abortion in New York. So that way, Mr. Officer says, oh, hey, you were pregnant 2 weeks ago. Why aren't you pregnant now? Well, I got an abortion. I got it in New York. It's perfectly legal. That's how that works. It's kind of like, California's laws don't apply to Texas. Fact of the matter is that somebody from California goes to Texas, say a relative of mine, and they ask me to buy them a Generation 5 G17, which is not only approved handgun list in California, comes standard with 17 round magazines, which are also illegal in California. Well, as long as this Californian doesn't take it back to California, they can't be prosecuted under California laws. Now, the caveat to that is that both me and this California resident, if this happened, could be prosecuted under federal law. First being is that you can't only buy a handgun in the state of your residency, and two, you can't transfer a handgun to somebody in a different state of residence without going through the respective FFLs. I would have to take this handgun over to an FFL in Texas, have them send it to an FFL in California, which they most certainly would not do because it's illegal. The handgun itself and the magazines in California. And obviously, but if it was, if the handguns and the magazines were legal in California, then they'd have to go to a California FFL, and that California resident would have to follow all the laws that go into purchasing a handgun legally in California. You don't have such federal law against abortion. And I'm talking about guns and abortion in the same monologue. Perfect time to bring up Alyssa Milano. Miss washed up B-list celebrity who is still desperately seeking relevance and attention. That one. Miss No NRA, Miss Sex Strike, which we'll get into that here in a few. Well, she is absolutely outraged by what's going on in Alabama. If you can't kill your kids up until they leave the birth canal, what right does a woman have? Oh, shoot. A good going on the sex strike thing, by the way. Alyssa, you're doing the evangelical Christians' bidding. And quite frankly, I think that you and your followers probably should continue this sex strike, as long as you possibly can. I'm with you on the sex strike. I realize that some people have come out and said, well, it's just a joke, bro. Well, nah. This is just one of those things you just did not think through. That's what it is. And now you have exposed yourself yet again for being a moron. You probably should just shut her mouth. Just saying, you have the freedom of speech. You can say it, and I hope you do continue to say it. Because it's comedy for me. But on your end, to save yourself and your followers some embarrassment, it's probably a good idea that you don't try to lead any movements. And this is the same person that thinks, people like me who own a few AR-15s and the millions of people in this country who own AR-15s themselves, it is the most common rifle platform in this country, and the millions more who might want to purchase one in the future, well, we should all have our AR-15s banned and confiscated because a few assholes killed some children with this. But yet, any sort of restriction on abortion apparently is violating that woman's right to choose, to kill her kid. Well, you guys can't have your AR-15s there, because, one of you out of millions of you might use it to murder some children, but you know what? It's my right to murder children. The cognitive dissonance in that one right there. And I gotta say, I find it very hard to take somebody seriously. In fact, pretty much impossible to take somebody seriously when they have this cavalier and even entitled mentality on abortion, that it's their right to choose. They disregard the pain and suffering that fetus will go through in that late-term abortion. They'll disregard the reservations of many taxpayers when it comes to taxpayer-funded abortions, and they'll even go as far as to say, well, if you don't have a uterus, you shouldn't talk about this. But really what they mean is, if you don't agree with me, you shouldn't talk about this, because if somebody holds their same views about abortion who's a dude, they'll go, preach on, brother. That's how they're like. And yet, a woman does not share their views and either has certain restrictions on abortion she'd like to be put in place, or a ban on abortion because she believes it's immoral. Well, she's told to shut up too, and even in some cases assaulted. When you have all that mentality there, and then you say, well, we need another gun law, or, the death penalty is barbaric and that practice should have been banned like yesterday. Yeah, I do have a hard time taking you seriously, and again, as I said earlier, yes, pretty much impossible to take you seriously with the lack of consistency you have in your logic. Another myth about this bill in Alabama, though, is that a woman can be prosecuted for having a miscarriage. Well, I didn't see anything in that bill that outlawed miscarriages, which leads me to believe that you think that the police are going to prosecute you for having an abortion when you really had a miscarriage. If I'm reading this right, if I'm getting what you're saying right. And if that's the case, that Mr. Big Bad Police Officer wants to prosecute you after you had that miscarriage as having an abortion, well, it's still on Mr. Police Officer to prove that you had an abortion in the state of Alabama before they can convict you. And generally, to even start prosecuting you for it, they have to have a certain amount of evidence that you got an abortion in the state of Alabama. And ladies, I know the patriarchy has been keeping a lot of secrets from you. I'm going to reveal one for you right now. The first thing you should do when you have a miscarriage is go see the doctor, to make sure nothing else is wrong with you. That cursed patriarchy just wants to keep it a secret from you, though. I don't know how much longer I'm going to last now that I've revealed that secret to you. And with that being said, y'all, thanks for listening. There's a comment section down below. Let me know what you think. Don't take it easy out there. Have a great day.